Hello and welcome to the Broke But Not Broken podcast. This is episode X, and I am your host, Destacat, aka Des. To start things off, I want to say welcome to the new year. It's 2023 now. Not as of recording this podcast. Um, it's been about a week or so since then. And jumping off into that, I want to talk about the podcast goals I made for last year, which were that I wanted to complete episodes A through Z, my what I would call my pilot season by the end of 2022. And as you can see, since this is episode X and it's 2023 now, I did not complete that goal. That being said, I did bump out a lot of episodes throughout the last month of December. And my secondary extension goal is that I'm going to complete episodes X, which is recording right now, Y, and Z by, let's say, January 14th. That's one more week from now or so. Yeah. And then ideally, I want to jump directly into what I want to call season 1, aka episode 1, on January 21st, the week right after. I'll talk more about that once I settle on the details. I might have an episode 0 where I kind of just like talk about the logistics and stuff on the podcast. Anyways, it was a pretty disappointing year or so in regards to my podcast output. I'm not gonna take that away. I'm not even gonna give myself the benefit of the doubt and be like, at least he tried, but I didn't try really. Got lazy. I think it's important when it comes to content creation that you churn stuff out regardless of your feeling, because otherwise you lose retention, and that's not good. All right, my microphone, I don't know how sensitive it is, but I hope you can hear this. Let's find out. Maybe if I make some background noise. Can you hear this? Can you hear this? All right, if you could hear that, that was me making the sound of opening. Drum roll, please. Mountain Dew Pitch Black. My favorite flavor has returned after all these years, and I will do a live taste test, or I guess a first impressions taste test right now on the podcast. So here we go. All right. A little bit of dead air there while I was drinking, but I'm gonna cut some of that out. It's good. Sorry, I just want to get one more sip in. Yeah, it's good. According to what I know, they revamped the recipe, so I was a bit worried it wouldn't be the same drink. But from what I remember, it tastes pretty much the same. I think after trying it again, and I no longer have the nostalgia bias, I'm gonna have to say it's not my number one flavor. I still say it's in my top 5 Mountain Dew flavors, but I think my number one spot's gonna go to one of the oldest flavors, the blue one, Voltage. Mountain Dew Voltage is my favorite Mountain Dew, but this Pitch Black is still goddamn delicious. And I'm gonna probably buy more and probably make myself sick of it, because this thing is limited edition. And I'm a sucker for limited edition things. Let's see. So on top of the list, I know I said I kind of covered all the catch up stuff, but a week or two has passed by since the last episode, so just some little bit catching up. It should not be the whole episode. Last time I talked about this quote, which was or I guess a fact. I don't know what to call it, but it was saying that it was saying basically, this was quote, I guess. One day your parents picked you up, they put you down, and they never picked you up again. And I got really like sad about that. I still am. That line just lingers in my head, like rent free. So among many other things. Um, I wanted to pivot into that because it's kind of like a lot of things in life, and like one thing I was thinking about specifically was I listened to this random podcast called the Procrastinators Podcast. I would not recommend it. It's very niche, um, but I just been listening to them for years now, so it's kind of like part of my life now. The main point is it's a small podcast, just a bunch of uh, comic artists talking about their lives and stuff. I kind of model this podcast after that one in a way, or at least inspired by that podcast. But the main point is, I know one day they're gonna say thank you for listening to the Procrastinators podcast, and it's gonna be the last episode. And um, that that moment is not gonna be my last moment on Earth. Hopefully, um, I assume the podcast will end before I guess I do to keep it less grim. Um, but then after that, I'll spend the rest of my life without the podcast going on. Um, and like I think that's like I don't know a lot of things. Like, there's probably a friend that you spoke to at one point in your life, and that one point was the last time you ever spoke to that friend forever. Uh, yeah, it's like I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of sad. At least that's the way I see it. You know, like some other things, like in February, no, in November of 2019, I want to say, I saw Dare for Tomorrow, my favorite band growing up, um, play a 10-year reunion show, and that might be the last time I or anyone gets to see them ever again. And a little sad to think about, but then again, it's kind of like those two quotes. The regular one was like, uh, trying to get it in my head real quick. I know one was like, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. That's more like with your love and stuff. The other one's kind of like, it's a little more simpler. It's on the tip of my tongue. You know what? Just forget it. I was thinking about the same thing twice. It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. I think that's the quote. Yeah. Anyway, moving on from that, I uh the fourth Evangelion movie, um Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice Upon a Time. Um they recently premiered it in American theaters this past winter. Or I mean in the December 2022. And I loved watching these movies over the spring earlier today. So I rewatched the first three movies and I bought tickets to see the fourth one in theaters again. And it was great again. It's the Evangelion rebuild movies, all four of them. I recommend to anybody, whether you like anime or not, watch it dubbed or subbed. I don't care. I just think they're really amazing pieces of media. Um, and the fourth one is just a masterpiece, and how it puts everything together. From the first three movies, from the original series, from the original ending movie, like we're from the beginning to now, to that fourth movie ending, it just ties so beautifully. And I just really like how. Well, how about this? I will spoil it in episode in my next podcast or the one after that, or spoil something I liked about it. So maybe if anyone cares, they can go ahead and watch the Evangelion rebuild movies. There's 4 of them. So let me make a note of that. All right, cool. All right. Now, how long has it been? It's been about 12 minutes. That's good. All right. So now let me talk about moving or my substitute teaching experience or something else. First, let me take a sip of this Mountain Dew real quick. That's the good stuff. All right. Let's talk about my substitute teaching experience. And I don't know if this will be a long spiel or a short one, but I will cut myself off if there's a good cutting off point and if it's going on for too long. But also, if I do cut myself off and I find I have a lot more to say, I will definitely continue in the next episode. Anyway, so let's talk about my student teaching experience. So basically, in the spring of 2022, I registered for student teaching, which, if you don't know, it's like clinical work for education majors. Education majors are, well, it's kind of in the name, but people go to college and they major in education when they plan to become a grade school teacher, grades from kindergarten to 12th grade high school. And part of your education major classes, at one point you must take student teaching, where you are basically in a school 40 hours a week, like a regular teacher does. It's not paid, but it's for school credit, it's for passing, it's for graduating, and it's for also getting your teacher certification. And it's for a single semester, not a full school year, which is about half a year or so. Anyways, in the spring of 2022, I did my student teaching at a high school. I'm not going to give details on which high school and whatever, but it was basically 9th grade. I'm working on becoming a math teacher. So 9th grade Algebra 1 class. And it was in person. This was when COVID was, when the effects of COVID making school online just ended. So now kids are going back to school. It's kind of the first semester where they're going back to school. But COVID was still somewhat relevant. I mean, it's still relevant today, but it was a little bit more cautioned, I guess, to be more simple. Like lots of kids wore masks, lots of teachers wore masks. And basically during this time, student teaching, I would be observing the classroom, observing my host teacher, the one I'm working with, who's already a licensed teacher, and for a few weeks, and just get the feel of the room. And then I would also, and then after that, I would start teaching classes on my own, and also making lesson plans and teaching the classes myself. But my host teacher during the spring of 2022 was a very nice person, and I am someone who's very shy, introverted, and doesn't really take initiative. And also was very just intimidated by the prospect of teaching, like most people are at the prospect of giving a presentation or interviewing. So because my host teacher was very kind, it was a double-edged sword. Because one side of the sword was, because she was nice, she let me get away with not, getting the experience I needed, because I didn't take I didn't offer to do what I needed to do to show experience, basically. And then two, because she was nice, she never pushed me, like threw me on the stage um, to teach, um, which is kind of, I guess, what I would need because I'm a very passive person. I'm a passive person, and she let me be passive, which I'm thankful for, as for the sake of my heart, but it hurt my experience and was one of the factors as to why I failed my student teaching semester in the spring of 2022. Um, the other side of why I failed my student teaching was my college supervisor. So my supervisor's job to um, to make sure that I have a proper student teaching experience, and I showcase that I have the ability to become a good teacher or show promise. Right? Like she would come. Well, she ideally would come in person and watch me observe, but because we were still in the COVID-ish era, instead I recorded myself teaching and sent it to her, and then we talked about it. I really think that my supervisor during the time was not good for me, both like as a developing teacher and also as a uh, person without the strongest demeanor. Um, I mean, it's still I'm very hard on myself as a person. Um, but even so, um, my college supervisor, I think she really messed me up mentally. I feel like I'm still affected by the way she gave me feedback. To keep it simple, um, I felt like through all the recordings that I showed her over the semester, I cannot recall a single positive piece of feedback she gave me. Everything she gave me was just negative feedback. It made me not only feel like I was a bad teacher, but it made me feel like I couldn't be a teacher no matter how hard I tried. And I was okay with being a bad teacher because I learned very quickly that teaching is not something I wanted to do. The only reason I was still continuing this path in college was because my degree requirements were almost completed, and I thought I might as well get the master's degree, which I still do think, and I still am working on. Um, but she destroyed me um, pretty bad. I was kind of traumatized the entire summer and the past fall as well. I mean, it's slowly loosening up with most things involving things like that. Time is the only thing. Time is the best thing that will make it go away. Um, so yeah, not it was a terrible. It was just a bad experience. I mean, I am the type of person to not blame others. I mean, especially when I feel like I was a big part of my own failures. Um, but I just felt she did more than she had to do to tell me what I needed to hear, and it just sucked. It sucked really bad, and I was not ready to share that at the moment because I wanted to compensate with that hard set of events with positive, or I guess more positive set of events, which I will discuss in the next episode because I have a little bit more to talk about in terms of my student teaching experience. But I think this is a good cutting off point. I will not be adding a song to the end of this episode because I'm mainly because um I just want to churn out the last two episodes of this season, and because I'm in the middle of a discussion right now. Also, I'm going to be trying to add advertisements in these podcasts now. I'm not really sure how it works, but I think I've been approved now by Anchor, the podcasting distributing platform that I'm using. So I think I have the ability to add ads now. So if you're watching on YouTube, again, I really would appreciate it if you if you listen to this podcast on Spotify instead. Because one, it helps me get more ads, and two, it helps me potentially make money from the ads because you'll be listening to the ads. Um, yeah. It just like I'm not doing this for money, but if I can make a few bucks here or there, that would be pretty cool. And I think it encourage with me to make more podcasts, and more and just content in general. I'm starting to rack up ideas in my head, and now that I have more space and time, or I guess more space, more comfortable space to work in, I want to try more creative endeavors. While I still have the spirit too. Yeah. So again, thank you for listening to the Broke But Not Broken podcast for all of 2022. Here's 2 more episodes this year. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.